This is a Missy Elliott exclusive.
Hey, Missy, how are you? It's George.
Good. And yourself?
I'm doing great. Thanks for taking the time today.
Yeah, man. We finally on the phone.
That's right. I got you on Twitter, so that's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
And, the reason for doing it is here we sit in 2016, and it's April, and it's been 15 years, since that record, and 15 years since the song kind of blew up. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on what you remember from that time and what you think about what's happened since and what that record has meant to people.
Oh, wow. 15 years ago. Well, I mean, Get Your Freak On, the story that I have behind that is that my album was actually finished. And I kept telling Tim that I felt like I needed one more record, and he was like, "You crazy, like this album is solid, it's hot." I was like, "No, I'm missing one more record." And we went back and forth for so long, and we was in the studio, and he just hit the keyboard, and that sound came up, and I was like, that's it. And he was like, what you talking about? I was like, what you just hit it again. And so he put that sound, and then he put like one little drum thing, and I just went, and it wasn't like it was like a skeleton of the track. And then I went in and recorded my verse, and then he just started putting stuff around, the two sounds that he had. And when it was done, it was like, oh, this sound like some next level type stuff. And it felt like that, but we still didn't know, because at the time, nothing sounded like it. So, it was kind of, but you don't know, because it could go over people's heads. But thank God that, it registered with the people. So, and here we are 15 years later.
Absolutely. And that's what I always wondered is especially when you're making music and you want lots of people to hear it, there can be a real challenge to make sure that you don't want to go too far over your head. So when you started to play it for people in your circle, did they get it? Could they hear what it was?
Oh, immediately. They actually was more sure than I was. Like, I knew it was something different, but like I said at the time, it was so different but I knew that, the way our mind thought we got it, but I didn't know, like the people around me would get it, and they immediately got it right off the bat. Like they actually was like, yo, this is the craziest thing right here. It's nothing like it. And they made me more sure of the record than I was.
I was working at Much Music at the time and in Canada, and we got the video, and we sat back and looked at the video, and everybody who was watching, it was on one of those little small TV screens in a monitor by all the other monitors, and people started looking, thinking, what the hell is happening here? What is going on? Like, how did she figure this out? Because the beat was so... What do you remember from that video as well?
Well, I remember watching The Sale that J-Lo was in. Mm-hmm. And I was watching that movie, and in a weird way, I was like, this is creative and scary at the same time. And so I hit Dave, and I said, it's this one scene in the movie The Sale that made me be like, wow, that's crazy. And it was like three girls, and they look like kind of statues or something. And I was like, let's build around that. And so, from there, it was just like, we just kept building. And then the day of the shoot, I was like, or it might have been the day before, but I think it was the day of. But whatever it was last minute. And I was like, I need a chandelier. And they like, it was on set, and it was like a chandelier. And so they thinking like a regular house chandelier. I'm like, no, I need an oversized chandelier. And it's like, where are we going to get an oversized chandelier? And I don't even know where they got it, but they got it. And I was like, I want to swing from it and just how to dance underneath the chandelier. So we were famous for doing stuff like that at the last minute. Like, I know my label probably gagged each time I would shoot a video because I would, come up with something at the last minute. And they like, where are we going to get that from? And you know how much this costs? And all this stuff. So, yeah, that video was one of those ones, too, that was different, fun and different.
Yeah, and I actually remember the cell too, and that flowing dress scene, which was so creepy in that big gray room, and that was it. It was just being visual, right? And so I guess that's part of like adding another layer to what hip hop was at the time, was taking it in a different direction. Was that important to you?
I don't believe that I focused on doing that. It was just a part of me. I don't think that I went in saying I'm going to try to take hip hop in a different direction. I think because of the way my music was, it allowed me to go there visually, because the music was just so different. Mm-hmm. And so, it was just a part of me that allowed me to be able to do that, because I got one of them crazy minds. So, but I never went in saying, we're going to change the way hip-hop videos. We wasn't even thinking like that. We just did them.
It's funny because it was right around that time, and it was in reference to an earlier album, but Mike D from the Beastie Boys was talking about Super Duper Fly, and he said that was the record that saved hip-hop. What did that ever get across your desk, that the Beastie Boys were talking about you like that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
this is my first time hearing it. I'm like, wow.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, like, that's the Beastie Boys. Like, I never heard that though, and I'm I'm in awe because I'm thankful. I'm grateful because I didn't know that. Like I said, we was just doing videos and music, and we did what we felt, mm-hmm. and it wasn't about we're gonna try to change anything, or we're gonna be on the charts. We was just doing music, what we loved.
Well, I remember seeing that, I think it was the VH1 Storytellers, or one of those shows where you were talking about, obviously your childhood was very challenging, and there was a lot of struggle involved, and that music was just a way to kind of save you, and it was a way to give you an outlet. Yes. I mean,
too, I was the only child, so when things were happening in my house, between my mother and father, I would go in my room, and that was like my escape to create a world of my own. And so from a child, I was doing that. And yeah, I mean, music was my escape all the time.
It's funny, when I interview artists today, not just female artists, but artists in general, but I do notice it particularly with female artists, when they talk about what really made a difference for them, certainly in hip-hop, they point to you. And I know that, hip-hop, we were lucky. We had MC Lyte. We had people who, women who were able to sort of assert themselves in a game that hadn't been historically friendly for it. Now you look at where hip-hop is and look at where R&B is, you see far more participation from women. Have you noticed a change in it?
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard for females in hip hop. That's always been. I think that goes back from Salt and Pepper. I just was watching an interview with them where they were saying, they had crossed over, and the people thought they had sold out.
Right.
That's what they used to call it back then. And then, a lot of those artists before me are great friends of mine, and it's the same story. Like, females has always been hard, but I think each time it opens up for more for each generation. I think they not even I think, I know that they most definitely open the door, for those after them. And so, I most definitely won't take the credit for that, because I know, those artists open the doors for me, and then I'll probably open the doors for somebody else, and then somebody else will open the doors for somebody else, and it continues. But for females in general, is just hard. For sure. It's different.
So then you think about that little girl that you were when you were writing records. Apparently you were writing letters to Michael and Janet Jackson, and here, fast forward a bunch of years, and there you are at the Super Bowl halftime show. What was that like?
Wow. Well, I mean, if you would have asked me years before, or told me, years before, you're going to be doing the Super Bowl, I would have laughed. I would have never thought. And, the day before, I caught so many anxiety attacks, and I've performed across the world in front of the biggest audiences ever. And for some reason, this was the scariest time, of having to perform. And, but when I say it was amazing, I'm humbled and thankful that I got a chance to experience, that moment. Like I said, everybody that has performed for the Super Bowl, I'm quite sure they have that scary moment because that's at a big place, like there's so many people watching and diverse at one time.
Pretty wild.
At first I wasn't nervous because nobody knew I was performing. But once they found out, I was like, oh my God, like, because then you feel like the expectations are high. People are going to be like, what's she going to do? And all of that stuff. So, but, I'm thankful that Katy asked me to come out there, and I just went out there.
So, you killed it. You killed it.
But if you would have asked me years before, thank you. I didn't, and it was scary because, when you go in the rehearsal, and when I first walked in, I'm like, wow, like, Katy has this big, huge, oversized lion. And I'm like, wow. And then, she got the Florida tilt. And then she got the beach scene. And then she fly away on a star. And it's like, what am I going to do? And I'm just looking at me and my dancers like it's just us. And, but, I thank God because this woman did the best we could.
Missy, thank you so much for your time. What a pleasure.
Thank you so much. All right.
Well, it's a treat to have Missy on the program. Hey, we got these guys coming to the house soon.